Evening, ladies and gents. It's another fine day in clown world where, as usual, up is down, left is right, and everything the mainstream media and the politicians tell you is the exact opposite of the truth. Today we got this exceptional tweet from the BBC. Humza Yusuf has accused Elon Musk of inflaming racial tensions. Now, before we get started and I show you dozens of facts, hard black and white facts that prove, without question, that the mainstream media, hundreds of politicians, people leaders and civil servants, journalists and judges and top police officers all colluded to hide the truth behind what went on that everybody in the general public knows about for about the last 3 decades, largely uncovered by the media. Before I show you all of that, I just want to ask you a very simple question, because I don't think this is complicated, even though they just brazenly try to lie about things that anybody with eyeballs can see 10 miles away is an outright falsehood. I just want to ask you a simple question. What do you think is more likely to inflame racial tensions? Blokes like Elon Musk talking, or the members of one certain community decapitating soldiers, blowing up pop concerts, knifing little girls at Taylor Swift dance classes, and the cherry on top of that appalling Sunday is rogering 50,000 children while the government excuses it? Answers on a postcard, please. Now, all jokes aside, just for scientific purposes, I did run a poll on my Twitter account just to make sure the public sentiment was with me here. Here's a quick poll before I make a video slamming Humza. What do you think damaged race relations more? Tommy talking, Elon tweeting, stabbing and bumming. And 98.6%. Easy. Yeah, I didn't see that coming, did you? And it's so obvious to anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together. Tony Romo isn't even a good speaker. He's not eloquent. He's no Douglas Murray, is he? He's not an amazing orator like Winston Churchill. He's just a bloke. He hasn't convinced tens of millions of people to be a little bit concerned when a fat 50-year-old bloke with a big beard starts eyeing up the kids. It's not him. It's the behaviour of the people that done it, and most importantly, the actions of the government and the mainstream media and the top policemen and politicians covering up for them. That's what's made people very, very, very angry. And only someone like Jess Phillips, with teeth like a dead sheep, a woman who is as thick as dehydrated whale spunk, could possibly think it's anything else. But I'm rambling. Let's cover the BBC and Humza's nonsense before we get into the facts, shall we? So, Humza has accused Musk of inflaming racial tensions. A man now famous, I'm not even going to show you the video because everybody's sick of seeing it, a man now famous for doing a 3-minute screed on the floor in Holyrood, outright attacking white people. It's even a meme now because of the hatred that he spat the words at. White. You've all seen it. Let's not bother watching it again. But that same man is accusing Musk of inflaming racial tensions. Let's have a look at this absolute commie gibberish that he's got to say, shall we?
Elon Musk is a far-right agitator, somebody who sympathises with white supremacy. He supports Tommy Robinson, he supports Geert Wilders, he supports the AfD in Germany. These are all far-right white supremacists and political parties that really make a living out of hating. So I don't doubt that that is what Elon Musk's intention is. It's why he only seems to amplify horrific incidents that are committed by people of colour or by Muslims, even when, of course, they are a tiny percentage of the population. We can have 2 choices here. We have one which is ignoring Elon Musk and pretending that the world's wealthiest man who has hundreds of millions of followers on his social media platform can simply be ignored and you can shut that noise out, which is not going to happen because you as the media, quite understandably, will want to will pay attention to what the world's richest man has to say. Or the other option is to confront Elon Musk, confront the ideology, confront the hatred and say, actually, there's a much more hopeful vision where communities can exist in cohesion and that diversity is our strength, not an enemy.
Yeah, exactly what it says on the tin. Gibberish, buzzwords, all the same, total abject bollocks we've all heard 10,000 times before. Diversity is a strength, yeah, because when everyone disagrees, you're stronger than ever. That's why when you go to Afghanistan with a company of Royal Marines, and all the officers disagree all the time, yeah, and they just tell you to do random things on a whim because no one agrees on anything, and then, you argue about who carries what and who's got what weapon and what you're supposed to do, because diversity's great. When everyone disagrees all the time, you have a nice, orderly society. Brilliant. Unfortunately for Humza, we've got 50,000 kids who've been rogered more than a copper's radio by one particular community, so that proves that there isn't any strength, and that's not even mentioning the penchant for some of them having hissing backpacks and exploding in public places. Alright, that's not strength. Scattering children up the walls of pop events isn't strength. Nobody will ever think it is, and the general public doesn't think it is. The problem is, the 80% are being ruled over with an iron fist by the 20%, and the 20%, the woke, rule everything. As Peter Hitchens has talked about that long march through the institutions, they've got every TV station, all the mainstream media, the airwaves, the radio networks, the printed media, Silicon Valley, the lot. And he's complaining about Elon Musk spending money. They weren't complaining when Bill Gates, George Soros, Tim Cook, and all these other billionaires were spending far, far more money every day. Soros bought hundreds of radio networks. Nobody said anything about that. So, as always, this is just nonsense. In fact, it's not just nonsense, it's the exact opposite of the truth. And we all know it. This isn't just my opinion. The BBC, The Guardian, Sky News, Channel 4, The Daily Mirror, The Independent, The Observer, Private Eye, The Economist, everything has been captured by this movement. Private Eye used to be funny. Now it's like The Guardian with cartoons. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and it's the exact opposite of the truth. But when they do it, it's fine. Then you get one guy buys one platform, because everything else is far left. You've all seen the statistics. 98% of Facebook and Google employees vote Democrat. It's just an echo chamber. And then one man, Musk, buys one platform, Twitter, and apparently it's beyond the pale. Preposterous. It's now 90-10 in their favour. They've got everything else. We've got Twitter and Musk. And they're still complaining about it because they're tyrants and they don't want to hear uncomfortable truths. I'm not even going to read the rest of that story because we all know what he said and we've just heard it come from the horse's mouth. So I'll finish up with some actual facts about these gangs and what went on. Matt Goodwin's done some great work on this, so I'll be using him primarily. First things first though, he retweeted Elon Musk here, pointing out that my 80-20 statistic is about right. 76% of British people want a national inquiry into the struggle snuggle gangs, and 77% want to deport dual nationals who are convicted of tonking toddlers. And the Times broke a great story about all the bosses in Rotherham, the epicentre of this problem, have all reinvented themselves since the struggle snuggle scandal. And all the ones who criticised inquiries into the exploitation of children, not just the exploitation, let's call it what it is, the appalling medieval torture, branding, occasional murder and violent violation of thousands of children. They've all become government advisors and executive coaches, and they have all the power, and that's why nobody cares. He also shared the arrest rate for different nationalities in the UK once you weigh the population. It's about 12 arrests per 1,000 people. Mali's 65 per 1,000 people, Moroccans 70, Algerians 73, Iraqis 93, Afghans 907, and Albanians, as I'm sure any working class person who's ever walked the streets and knows, make up almost 210 arrests per 1,000 people. So fully a quarter of them are a royal pain in the arse to the authorities. And everybody knows it. Yeah, cheers. Didn't need the data for that one, did we? What, you think middle class Cornish lads who grew up watching Sesame Street with a life of idle pleasure and never had to fight for anything in their lives, you think they're less likely to get arrested for mugging someone as a bloke who was born and raised in Somalia? That's a bit bigoted, isn't it? Again, when you put it like that, it is laughable, because anybody with the wit to defeat a bucket of snot in a pub quiz knows that this is obvious, which is why they've always said you should only do immigration in tiny numbers and take people that are skilled and heavily vetted. Nobody's even blaming them, really. You can't blame an Afghan for being more likely to steal than a middle-class arsehole from the home counties? Of course you can't, but it doesn't mean it's a good idea to import them en masse, does it? And now to the meat of the piece. Mr. Goodwin went back and he looked at how many times things were mentioned by the media related to these appalling medieval barbarous struggle snuggle gangs. And he said if you look back at the years 2011 through 2025, there was almost nothing in the UK media about it. We all know this, but it's worth making the point because disingenuous liars are going on social media and picking out individual stories, little tiny nuggets that they got off page 27 of The Guardian, or some minuscule little minor headline tucked away somewhere in the corner of the BBC and gone, aha, look, we talked about a Rochdale gang in 2016, as if that proves that therefore it was a big deal. But again, the general public knows the truth. They didn't care. When Donald Trump said something even slightly, in fact, let's get it said, calling a nation that's an absolute dump, an S-hole, isn't controversial. Everyone talks like that over the kitchen table. But when he said something like that, the mainstream media made it a headline news for 3 weeks. Every single day, battering you around the head with it. You know it, and I know it. But this, they didn't talk about it. That's what they did. Nobody's saying there wasn't individual stories every now and then, just to keep it on the down low. But it raised less of an eyebrow than the antics of a pop star on a Thursday night in Soho. It's a national scandal, and here's the statistics to prove it. You could only find a single article from the whole of 2010 by Sue Reed in the Daily Mail who dared to highlight the shocking case of 9 men from Derby who were jailed for the biggest case of serial sex abuse ever uncovered in Britain, and that was basically it. As Sue Reed noted at the time, the simple fact is the perpetrators are all a tad swarthy, and all their victims are white. Sorry, white. And it gets better. Now he does a deep dive into all the newspapers' coverage to look for certain words that you might expect to see. And what do we find here? Throughout this period, there were 4,659 articles in UK newspapers that were mainly about the struggle snuggle phenomenon. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, remember the number, 4,659. Now compare it with how much coverage the media class gave to other national scandals and debates in the country. White privilege, 6,146. Anti-Muzza, 17,152. Post office, 20,000. Extreme right, even though it basically doesn't exist in the UK, 21,252. Everyone's favourite phobia, 23,460. Greta the Doom Goblin, 22,000. Expenses, 25. Stephen Lawrence, 29. What's that? 2 decades after he got killed. Windrush, 35,000. George Floyd, 38,000. BLM, 59,000. Grenfell, 71,000. Britain and racism, 75. Net zero, 140. Far right, 250,000. Racism, nearly 500,000. I could go on, but the numbers speak for themselves. I'll sum up because the evidence is so damning, it's boring me. It's boring me. Over the last 20 years, I'm sick of seeing article after article after article after article with pictures, well, that look like that. That look like that. I'm sick of it. It's an international scandal only thanks to Elon Musk. And all we've got now is Humza and the degenerate, worthless, contemptible worms that run the mainstream media and the government, telling us not to believe our own eyes and ears. It is 1984. The party thinks they can convince you to believe anything if they just burn all the books, hide all the data, and then repeat mantras over and over and over and over again, and have Humza and Tuti Akia and convicted sex pests themselves from Parliament going on telly and telling you, don't believe your own eyes and ears. No, we'll tell you what's true, lads. And they think if they do it long enough, it'll work. Well, it won't, because the cat's out the bag. We're the media now. More people look at Elon's tweets than tune into the BBC in a month. So you're done, lads. You're liars. You're deviants. You assisted the worst type of human scum, and it will all come out. It doesn't matter how long you try and hide it. But that's just my thoughts for the day. If you're a Guardian reader and you've got the situational awareness of a goldfish in a hijab, please let me know in the comments why you disagree, because I love reading the comedy gold that you knobheads post. Okay? Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let me know your own thoughts, and I'll see you all very soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.